Yes. Good morning, everybody. We are going live from Crestone, Colorado for our final day of EarthStock. And this is the very first presentation of the day, and it is Stone Circle Stories and Activation. And that's going to be presented to you by Danny and Helene. And they have different last names. I'm not going to try it, but they're wonderful people. And I'm so sorry that I'm going to miss their presentation. But just so you know, this is also being recorded. So you will be able to find it later on the Webosphere. We're not exactly sure where yet, but don't forget that you can always see presentations that have gone live on Facebook and on YouTube. They're already still recorded there on the EarthStock pages. So you can go back and watch all the live presentations already. So I'm so happy to welcome Danny and Helene, and please have a fantastic presentation to watching with you. You guys have a great day. We'll see you throughout the day.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Ola.
We are happy that you're here in this early morning, and for us in the Netherlands, it is in the afternoon. So we are happy we're not alone here, and we are here together. So we will talk about stone circles today. But before we start doing that, we would like to ask you also, when you see the recording, do you have a stone nearby? So do you have like a crystal or a little pebble? Because it's really nice to work with the stone during the meditations we will do later. And do you have some water? Because sometimes it gets very warm when we work like this. So some water and a little stone, that would be really wonderful.
It's definitely going to be warm.
And that's because we will talk about stone circles, but not only about stone circles, we will also talk about the fire. And usually when we work with the fire, and I think most of you know that, then it can get very warm. It's the same as sitting on at a real fire. It's also when we work with the fire. Yeah.
Can you all see this? Okay.
So today we talk about Stone Circles, the 12+1, a new covenant with the earth. And I can imagine that not all the words make sense, but at the end you will understand what we are talking about. So there is a little mystery in there already. What we'd like to start with is with the Firekeeper Academy. Danny and I started the Firekeeper Academy a few years ago, and what we felt, not only when we started, but we will share that later, but also in the bigger picture, is that a lot, I would say almost, that humanity lost its compass. And I know this sounds a little bit rough or a little bit big, but when we look around us, there's a lot going on. We have way more challenges, and we do not have the solutions for the challenges we have. So there are so many questions, and we cannot answer them. And I think when I look at EarthStock and all the days that have been here, and we are the last day today, that a lot of these challenges have been addressed. And we're trying to see how we move forward to the future. And when you look, because it's all about transformation, it's about the bigger transformation. And when we look at transformation, you can see like 3 levels. So it's the first level, that's the most objective level, I would say. That are the things you can see, the things you can count, the things you can measure. And then there's the second level, that's the psychological level. And that's the level where how we feel about the world outside us. It's all our feelings, our emotional intelligence. And then there's the third level, and that's the mythological level. And that's the level where it's all about the bigger narrative, but also the collective dream, but also our personal dreams. And when we look at the levels, especially, we try to fix a lot in the first level. We try to fix, we want to go from A to B. We have a problem and we'd like to address it and we'd like to find a solution. And what's happening usually is we start running in circles. We need the second level. We need the emotional intelligence. We need the heart. We also need our heart intelligence, because that's the space where we start healing. That's the space where we start acting, we start feeling. And that's needed for change. And then there's the third level. And that's the most difficult level, because that's the bigger narrative. That's also the earth narrative. And that's changing, but it's like with cultures, with any culture. We can shape cultures, but cultures also shape us. So it's both ways. So we need all the three levels in transformation to really move forward. And that's one of the difficult parts, because it's the in between where we are right now, the chaos where we are right now, that makes it sometimes very difficult. At the Firekeeper Academy, that's what we address most. We address most the part at the fire, where is the liminal space, and that will open up the new solutions.
I thought of a perfect example. The first layer is, look at this picture. How many stones do you see? I'm not sure, I didn't count them, but I think it's about 20. We could count them, and that's the real practical layer. The second layer is, what do you feel about this? Do you like it? Does it touch you somehow? What happens with you? And the third layer, the mythological, is there's a way bigger thing going on with the stone circle than just what we can see and just what we can feel. It makes an impression on the earth, and the earth reacts to it. And I'm pretty sure as soon as you walk into the circle, something else starts happening. And of course, we can put the stones differently. It's going to make slightly different impression, but the message is the same. But as soon as you light a fire in the middle and start asking the right questions, something else happens. And I think we all can imagine this.
So a lot of what Danny was just sharing, that's what we do in the Firekeeper Academy. That's where we start listening not only to the fire, but also to the stones, to nature, to everything in nature. And today is mostly about the stones and the fire.
Stone circles, any stone structure, and the most of us know this one, this is Stonehenge. Any stone structure remembers and helps us to remember the mythological part. It is our ancestors that built these structures to help us remember what is the bigger narrative. And it can be aligned with a sun date, it can be aligned with the moon, it can be aligned with any star system. But the bigger thing is, it has to be aligned with Earth, because that's the biggest narrative we have.
And it's so beautiful. There are so many stone circles all over the world. There are stone circles in our country. We used to have them in the Celtic times. There are stone circles in the United States. There are stone circles in Ireland and the UK. Everywhere there are stone circles. There are millions of stone circles in Africa. So there are way more stone circles than we can ever imagine. And in the old days, they used to communicate by the stone circles. So the stone circles, you can imagine, were sort of like a Wi-Fi. So they knew that the information was traveling all over the world by these stone circles. And we cannot imagine that right now because we have our phones, but that's almost the same. So we used to communicate in many ways with these stone circles. They were just part of the daily life.
Yes, and it's very similar to our bodies. I mean, if I press on my hand here, My whole body understands something is happening. And that was just the same in the old days. We had a bigger consciousness. We were connected to the bigger narrative. That means we were sensing, hey, something is happening there. And it still is working for us. We don't use it anymore, so we have to dust off this talent of ours, but it's still there. And believe it or not, we're still reacting to it.
Many of the old tribes were saying that the stone had their own language. They were talking about the stone people, the language of the stones. And that makes us all very curious. So that's something that really wants to come back, that we really align again with the stones, that we start listening to the stones, because the stones have been here for ages, forever. And all the information is like recorded in the stones. So the moment that we come into a stone circle or a stone structure, it starts working. And sometimes we can really feel that and we can really hear that. But most of us have to learn that again, have to relearn that is communicating with us the whole time.
And it's more about allowing the communication than anything else. Because as soon as you start directing your thoughts, you're narrowing it down to a very small pathway. And the dialogue can be only this small. But as soon as you start relaxing in there and allow yourself to be in there, it opens up and it comes into you for you the easiest way. Yes.
So
So
that's what we were talking about.
by the way, this is one of our favorite stone circles.
Yes, this is Avery. We were there in March and it's really beautiful. It's like a little village in the stone circle, and there are really many stones and they're huge. They're really huge. There's so many beautiful stone circles, and I think you already hear that we really love stones. But we can tell you at the end you love stones too, or maybe you already love stones.
So
Let's go to the next one.
yes. And this, well, stone circles speak a language older than words. Not many of you know, or a few of you know my story. And it actually started happening next to this dolmen, about 25 meters to the right. When I was really young, I was about 8 years old. Nature asked me to sit down. And I sat down against a tree, closed my eyes. And it looked like a second later I opened my eyes, but it was already shimmering light, so it was almost evening. And what happened ever since then, and I literally walked down to the stones and touched the stones. And somehow I understood what they were saying. Somehow I was open enough, relaxed enough that I just could perceive the messages. And normally they show me what happened, what it's for, and all kinds of information. And it started happening. And this is with all of us. As soon as we allow this and we are doing what we're supposed to do, the message is there, the information is there.
But that was only the start of your journey.
Yes. So I started listening, and I soon saw, with the help of however you want to call this consciousness, I saw what we call the system cannot work because it's not nature related. It's not similar as nature. And that's the only way, I somehow knew that's the only way it's going to work. If we align it with what I call now the bigger narrative, the earth narrative, the story of the earth. We have to align with it. So I started asking, how can we do this better? It took me a few years to hear the message. And of course, I learned a lot of in between. But in 2009, I had 2 vision days. I literally had to walk up and down a dirt road And I had a lot of images, very old images, even of the creation of the earth. And it started talking, making more sense. And it came up with a solution they asked me to start doing. And actually several. The first was start a council of the 52 plus 12 plus 1, which by now is a stone circle and we'll share later. And the second one, start creating sacred places. Sacred places means we are listening to the bigger narrative. We are listening. Not only talking, we're listening. Makes a huge difference. And we're starting to listen not only with our ears, but with our whole system. Let's call it active listening. And the beauty of active listening is it's transforming. It's always warming your system up because you immediately start transforming. It's like as if as soon as you start listening, there's a fire that turns on.
Oh, that's a nice bridge.
That's so.
We met about 7 years ago, and that's where our story started. And we have different backgrounds. I have more ocean experience, I would say. But when we came together, there was a lot of chaos. Like what I was sharing in the beginning, in the bigger picture, we also had a lot of chaos. We didn't know, the thing we knew was that something bigger wanted to come through us. We knew that our history was like opening up the door to the future, our future together. And we felt that there was something big we had to do together. But we could only see pieces. And as we were in the beginning of our relationship, and there was a lot going on, and some of you noticed that there was a lot of chaos. Everything happened, and not always nice. There were nice things, but also not nice things. And then after 3 months, we had been working the whole time because we knew that we had to get ourselves aside to get the new information or to see where we wanted to go. But it took a lot because we all had our history and we were both a little bit stubborn. But there was after 3
I
months,
don't remember that.
after 3 months, we it was a really grumpy morning. It was also a Monday morning. And we had to move from one little tiny house to another little tiny house. And we were packing our bags and we had to wait for a few hours. And we decided to sit down because we were so confused and we were so frustrated in a way. And we took some big papers and I said, well, let's just start writing what's happening. Just start listening. What are the things we can see and what are the things we cannot see or what wants to come? And we started writing both. And Danny was sitting next to me. I was very busy. And after a minute, he said, well, I just need a new paper because I had some dots, but it's nothing. So he got a new paper. And it happened 3 times. So I got a little bit irritated. But suddenly something shifted in the room. And when I looked aside, there were 13 dots on a paper. And there were 12 words next to it. And then he said, well, this is something. And that's something we have been exploring for the last 7 years. That something was a new wheel of growth, how consciousness is growing. But it was very much connected to the stones. But we didn't understand that immediately, but it came later. It was very much connected to stone circles and how in the old days people were raising their consciousness or were getting new answers. So we started like discovering what was in there, and people started asking questions about our wheel, and they asked us if we could teach them. And every time we started connecting to this, we got more information. So it was for us like a beautiful tool to get ourselves aside, but also to learn more about the stones, about nature, about the fire. And all these things together became the Firekeeper Academy later.
One of the most beautiful things we discovered, and I would say, just do it like this. Please sit as comfortable as possible. And just keep your eyes open and imagine between us a fire. Just between yourself and us. Just imagine a fire. You can close your eyes, but you can do it with your eyes open. And feel what it does. Allow yourself to feel it. Maybe you feel your heart opening. Maybe you feel a start of energy flow. Maybe some strange clarity comes in. Maybe even more silence, or even the bigger silence. Just feel what it does. Just imagine that fire between us. And it does something in your system. It most likely opens a memory. Because all the tribes, every single tribe, knew this fire. And transformation, even if we don't know, starts. Something bigger starts happening than our thoughts. Then just let go of the fire. And notice when you step back from the fire, what happens again. Maybe you can feel literally the room getting smaller. And this is what fire does. It opens all of us up. It always did, and it always will. But it takes the discipline to sit down.
So beautiful when we sit at the fire together, then it's immediately, it opens something up in yourself that we are calming down. We're starting to listen. We are opening up our hearts. It's like it's just happening by itself almost without us doing a lot. And it feels to me it's almost in our DNA because our ancestors were always sitting at the fire. Especially in times when they didn't have the answers, we returned to the fire, always. We always sat down and we had the fire keepers who were helping us in these turbulent and in these chaotic times. The fire keepers were helping to feel what was going on, to sense what the direction would be. But it was like the liminal space, the in-between. Because when we are in chaos, we have been leaving something behind. And we are entering in a space where we don't know. And usually that's very uncomfortable. It's like the old things want to go, but the new things are not there yet. And we cannot see it. And we lose a little bit of our trust also, because when we can see it, we just don't know. And we don't like that. It's very, it's a good feeling when we know where we are going. And we love that as human beings, but we can't. Especially in these times, we need this liminal space. We need this space where we can listen again without knowing. And the firekeepers were there to hold that fire. Because when we were too much in the fire, we were not able to listen anymore, because then we burn ourselves and our community. So we had to stay next to the fire. And that's sometimes very difficult. And that's also part of the listening. What we're talking today, the stone circles also are part of it. The stones were literally around the fire. So the stones in the fire are very much connected.
It was the voice of nature that they brought in. It was the easiest way that we could remember how to reconnect with the consciousness of Earth. Our ancestors built all these structures, all of them, every single one of them, to align with the bigger consciousness of Earth, or even bigger. And just to have that tool and to make those sacred fires on those sacred moments really helps to align with it. Not because we want to do it, because if we allow it, it just happens. It just happens. And for me, coming back to this dolmen, I was just there on the right moment with the right attitude. I was more or less guided there. And then it all started happening. And that's with all of us, as soon as we allow to start remembering stuff. And our ancestors, once again, helped us by creating those places.
And we also, yeah, go. And we also had glimpses of the future. But sometimes it's very difficult to stay connected to that when our reality looks different, or our reality is not like that yet. But we all have our dreams. And I think that's one of the most important parts, that we keep sharing our dreams of the future, how we'd like to see our future. And that's the fire is a beautiful tool to sit at together. So let's do the fire exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. We just did the fire between us with eyes open. We'd like to do a little meditation before we do the stone circle activation. And we'd like that you get to know the fire inside you. So we'd like to invite you to close your eyes and make yourself as comfortable as possible. Then you become aware of your breath, your inhale and your exhale. And just follow your breathing. And when you put your hands on your belly, you feel the rise and fall of your belly with your breathing. And then you go with your attention to your feet. And then you feel your left foot and your right foot. And you allow the messages of your feet come to you. Just listen to the messages of your feet. And then you feel how you sit in your chair. And then you become aware of your head. You become aware of your jaws. And when you open your mouth just a little bit, you relax your jaws. You feel your ears, your nose. And then you become aware of your eyes and the space behind your eyes, where all the connections are with your brain. And you feel your third eye. And then you go to the crown of your head. And with next exhale, you feel your whole body from your crown to your toes. Just feel how you're more expanding, become more present. And then you go to your heart area. Maybe you feel your heart beating, or maybe it gets warmer. And when you look inside your heart, there's a really comfortable chair. And you sit yourself in the chair in your heart. Now you allow yourself to be carried by this chair. Just sit very comfortable in this chair. And while you're sitting in the chair in your heart, right in front of you, there's your campfire. Maybe you see the fire, maybe you feel the fire. And just light your fire. And feel how your fire is warming every cell of your body in a very gentle way. Just sit in the chair in your heart and enjoy your fire. This is your campfire. This is the fire that came into existence when you were born. This fire is connected to the fires of all the beings. This fire is the place where you get your guidance. The place you're at your core. Sitting in a chair in your heart at your fire. Now you thank your fire for being there, and you close your eyes there and you return to the room where you are. And you open your eyes.
What happens automatically is your whole system, your body, but your whole system starts aligning with the fire. And by doing that, by allowing that to happen, you immediately start aligning with a narrative that's going on. And that's always the bigger narrative of nature itself. And the less thoughts you allow for yourself, the more this happens. It automatically happens. So the more you relax in there, the easier it becomes. And it might get really warm because what it does, it starts also processing old thoughts or old teachings that wanted to be learned. But it's going to process it. So it means it's going to take it from a mindful state to a wisdom state. It's going to let you have the experience in that moment.
And sitting at your fire like this is never the same. Sometimes your fire can be really high or really small, or sometimes you see your fire, sometimes you don't. It's always different. So don't doubt it when you do not immediately feel it or see it. It's changing, and it will become more easy when you practice this more.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's make a step to stone circles.
Stone circles.
It's so nice. This stone is from the stone circle in Dalfsen, and this is I think the first, after your vision, this was the first stone circle that was established, the 52 plus 12 plus 1. And stone circles, the new stone circles, the new established stone circles, they have, I would say, a different task. because they carry the values of the community. And in many cases, what we see right now is that the values are almost forgotten and are not very much lived. But the stones are really willing to carry the values, because the moment we start installing the stones with the values, that will do something different for the community.
Yes. In 2015, during the COP21, I was in Paris, near Paris, in a little place, Milmont. And nature came and said, the 12+1 is our new covenant. It literally came in the form of 4 animals, or animals showing something and giving literally their nod. It was a robin, a wild boar, ducks, and a mother deer and her young that literally gave their nod for, okay, this is the new sign. That means if you go back to the first picture we showed you, not only the stones change, but the narrative of the stones. And it makes a totally different impression. And when we came together, the 12+1 really came inside, and it started making sense on a different level. So in 2013, the first stone circle came to Dalsen. I'm not sure if you can see all the pictures, but it's literally a circle of 52 in the outside and 12 in the smaller and 1 in the middle. But the 12+1 is like the engine for the bigger one. And the bigger one is still some information that is going to come. And then just a few weeks ago, we went to Davos, Switzerland, and we placed or initiated, it was already placed a week before, this 12+1.
It's an amazing place. It's near a very big waterfall. It's about 100 meters, and it's next to this drinkable river. And the stones are also amazing. It's a public place, so the whole day people are passing. This is the Nordstone here. I'm not sure you can see it, but this is the Nordstone, and people are passing the stone circle. So they walk through the stone circle, and then they walk to the waterfall. But it's amazing to see the stones. They all have a different color. They all have a different shape.
Different personality.
Different personality. Yeah, that's was the word I was looking for. And it was amazing to start with this installation with the value. So we had a whole week with a group of people where every day we did a part of the stone circle, and we installed the 4 directions, the 4 basic values. And it was so beautiful to see that the people who were there at the end, they were like hugging the stones. In the beginning, they were looking at it, oh, that's really nice, this stone circle. And at the end, it was like it was family. That was really beautiful to see how the stones are awake something also in the people passing by. They were like people who were making little fires in the stone circle. There were children climbing on the stones. There were people making like pictures next to it. So there was a lot of interaction. And it was like the stones were the new, very important persons there. And they had moved to a very beautiful place. But it's beautiful to see how it starts like communicating also with the community.
Even if people don't understand it, they still communicate.
And it will be a place where leaders forces will come, and where we like helping them to remember how they work with the stones.
Oh yeah, that was Davos.
Oh yeah.
It's right there somewhere. Let's go here. Stone circles are natural power spots. And we're going to do the exercise just now, but what happens as soon as you start going literally, actually, like doing this, if you touch that finger, it touches your hand, energy starts running. But stone circles, because it's literally, in this case, 12 stones or 13 stones already standing on the earth, are doing the same thing. It's like the consciousness knows, okay, I'm activated on this point. So as soon as you step in there, it opens something within us.
But you can also have like a personal stone circle, and it can be very small stone circles, and that's the ones that we are going to work with.
Yes. Want me to do the meditation?
Yeah.
So if you cut one stone with you, please take it in your right hand. And it doesn't matter if you have the 12 plus the 1 or you don't have the 12 plus the 1. You can find 12 stones later. It's still going to work. Especially since a month, 2.5 months, 3 months is even stronger going to work. So please sit as comfortable as possible. And if you can, please close your eyes. And just for a moment, listen to your belly. Feel your belly. Feel how your belly rises and falls together with your breathing. And then you go with your attention to your feet. Allow yourself to feel your feet. And then you go with your attention to your heart and your heart area. And inside your heart is a very comfortable chair. And you sit yourself in it. And you allow yourself to be completely comfortable in that chair in your heart. And as you're sitting in your chair, you notice your campfire in front of you, about a meter in front of you. You allow the warmth of that fire to reach every cell of your body. And as you're sitting in your chair, you squeeze your stone in your right hand. Just squeeze it. They really love that. It's like giving the stone a hug. Just squeeze your stone. And notice what it does. And then you ask 12 stones around you. Just imagine 12 stones around you. You please squeeze your stone, your third stone. And become aware of what it does. Maybe the energy all of a sudden comes up, or starts flowing down more. And then you welcome all the 12 stones around you and the one in your hand. You thank you for being here. And maybe some of them already start sending messages. Just allow it to come to you. And then you ask your fire to start resonating gratitude towards the 12 stones. And become aware of what it does to the stones. You might start hearing songs. You might start hearing voices of children. Or you might start hearing the water flow. It might get warm or cold. Just every now and then squeeze the 13th stone. Then you thank the stones to come. And then you give the 13th stone an extra squeeze, a big hug. And if you like, you can let them there, or you can let it go of the image. And you just enjoy your fire for a second. And then you slowly close your eyes there and return with your attention to the room where you are and open your eyes. And if you have the 12, it's already there. And if you don't have the 12, you can find 12 stones later, similar to this little circle as we show now in this picture. And it starts working for you. Especially if you have that 13th stone, they'll start working for you on a totally different level. Allow yourself to be reconnected to these stones.
If you like, we'll show you later a website where you can find the steps to do this.
So,
yeah.
Our global mission would be stepping back to these stone circles and those sacred listening places, all of us. The only way that we can step forward is stepping back into our old connection, a more deep earth connection.
It's like that we pick up the thread where we have lost it, where we have left the way to live together with nature and to listen like this. But we see stone circles coming all over the world, and one of our biggest visions right now is to place a stone circle in the United States, all over the United States, the 12+1, all over the United States. So we are talking about that in Chicago in September. If you'd like to know more, please connect with us.
See, just seeing the time. Please, if you want to know more, check out stonecirclestories.com. Here is also these our stories, and here you can find more information also about the 12+1, and of course on the Firekeeper Academy.
And we really invite you to lay your 12+1 stones someplace in nature in your area. And we'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to hear what you have been listening to. We'd love to hear the messages.
Yes. And if you've done it, please connect to the Stone Circle Stories. There you can literally find it on the map again. So thank you all for being here. And I think we need to, Michael, I think it's done for now. For those who want to stay and have questions, we can stay longer. And otherwise, thank you for being here.
I think you still have time, Helene and Danny, thank you. We have an extra 10 minutes.
Okay.
So if anybody has questions or wants to make any comments right now about the stones, well, I brought 12, I brought the stones and I just laid them out on the table here, following the